Today, Bitcoin breaks above $45,000 to its highest level in nearly a month. Crypto company Bakkt warns in an SEC filing that it might not be able to stay in business. And Kraken's managing director of the US breaks down how the introduction of spot Bitcoin ETFs impacts the crypto exchange. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Talia Kaplan. Crypto prices rising today, with Bitcoin breaking above $45,000 to its highest level since January 12th. That's the day after spot Bitcoin ETFs went live here in the US. Ether climbed more than 1%, crossing $2,400, and Cardano surged more than 8% to 52 cents, all as of noon Eastern. Bitcoin's move higher today came as shares of New York Community Bank extended losses. Worries about regional banks have worked in Bitcoin's favor since last year's regional banking crisis, when investors who lost confidence in the banks turned to crypto as a hedge against uncertainty. Traders also point out to CNBC that Bitcoin accumulation by large investors increased in the past 2 weeks. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Terraform Labs co-founder Do Kwon won a second appeal yesterday against the Montenegro High Court's decision to uphold extradition requests from South Korea and the US. That's according to CoinDesk, which also reported that back in November, Do Kwon first won an appeal to overturn the High Court's decision in favor of those extradition requests. The next month, the same court decided that the requests held up. On Monday, we told you the former CFO of Terraform Labs, who was arrested in Montenegro with Do Kwon, was extradited to South Korea. Both South Korea and the US have asked for Kwon to be transferred to their jurisdictions to face criminal charges of the collapse of Terraform Labs back in 2022. Last month, a federal judge delayed the SEC's trial against Do Kwon and Terraform Labs to allow time for him to be extradited to the US so that he can attend. Next, Bakkt, a publicly traded crypto company, said that it might not be able to stay in business. In an SEC filing yesterday, Bakkt executives warned that the crypto custody and trading platform might not be able to continue as a going concern. The filing went on to say that the firm is currently unable to generate sustainable operating profit and sufficient cash flows, and determined that its future success will depend on its ability to raise capital. The company went on to write that if it can't get cash when needed, the platform might have to halt its current expansion programs, cut operating costs, and could even be forced to terminate operations altogether. Now, we reached out to Bakkt for comment, but didn't hear back right away. However, CoinDesk reported that a spokesperson said Bakkt is trying to sell up to $150 million of securities to help with the situation. Last, ransomware crypto payments surpassed $1 billion last year, hitting a record high after a drop in 2022. That's according to Chainalysis, which found that in 2023, ransomware actors stepped up their operations, targeting high-profile institutions and places like hospitals, schools, and government agencies. Chainalysis says some of the attacks were carried out by exploiting the file transfer software MoveIt, which impacted companies like British Airways and the BBC. According to the blockchain analysis firm, 2023 marks a major comeback for ransomware attacks, with a substantial increase in the scope and complexity of these exploits. The firm went on to warn that the overall trend line from 2019 to 2023 indicates that ransomware is an escalating problem. All right, for our main story, Crypto World's Tanea McKeel sat down with Tal Cohen, Kraken's managing director of the US, to discuss what the introduction of spot Bitcoin ETFs means for its business. He also weighs in on the state of exchanges amid a regulatory crackdown here in the US.
Welcome to Crypto World. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I want to start with ETFs. It's been almost a month since we got the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs and they began trading. We have talked about, and we still talk a lot about, what that means for Bitcoin and for the crypto space long term. From where you sit, what does it mean for you and for your business? Is this competitive ETFs or is it complementary?
I think that Bitcoin ETFs are a great step for the industry and for us as a company. For the industry, the ETF opens up the investment capability for people who are not in the crypto space, who do not want to open an account in a crypto exchange or do not want to own their own wallet, but they can do that through their equities broker, and they can get into the crypto space. So it opens up the market to just about everyone that can invest in equities. For us as a business, this is also great because these funds, number one, they need to buy Bitcoin someplace, and they buy those at exchanges like ourselves, and that's good. The second thing is our mission is to increase the adoption of crypto around the world. And this is definitely a step that does that. And the third point is we have a subsidiary called CF Benchmarks, which creates the index for the ETFs, and our index powers 90% of the ETFs that have been launched. We've seen a very, very positive welcome to the ETFs in this world. Over $1.5 billion of net inflows. So a lot of money has left GBDC, the largest fund that holds Bitcoin. But if you look at net, there's over $1 billion that have come into this in less than a month. I think it's the most successful launch of ETFs. Highly anticipated. It's been in the waiting for a very long period of time. It needed to go through the courts, but it finally arrived, and we think it's great. We also think it's the beginning of additional ETFs. So there's discussion of derivatives of BTC. There's discussion of an ETH ETF later this year. So we think it's a great step for the industry and for us.
How does it help Kraken with its mission of increasing crypto adoption globally? Is it just a matter of getting people comfortable with Bitcoin through a wrapper like ETFs that is familiar to them to, maybe help them get to other crypto assets that they might buy on Kraken? Just explain that a little bit for me, how the ETFs help you with your mission.
It's exactly what you said, Tanaya. People can now access Bitcoin without going through all the complexities of owning a wallet or understanding what it means to actually own Bitcoin. I think it's a first very easy step to own the asset. Beyond that, the way that it's influencing globally, you asked, so other countries are looking at that as well. So Hong Kong is now likely to be the next country that offers Bitcoin ETFs. And we believe that once people get comfortable with the initial asset and they see the performance, they understand more about it, they'd like to learn more. It's just like owning your first share, right? Whatever that share was, after you owned your first share, it makes sense to look at other shares as well. So beyond Bitcoin to Ethereum and beyond Ethereum to other assets.
What is your read based on, given everything that's going on, and the company must have discussions in DC all the time? I know that there were two main pieces of legislation that a lot of people had been eyeing to see some progress on this year, the market structure piece, as well as the stablecoin legislation, which was, seen widely as the one that was most likely to get through this year. Do you still see that as a possibility, or have other priorities come into play?
We would love to see legislation, these pieces as well as other pieces of legislation. I think it's very hard to pass legislation through the houses at the moment, also on this topic, not only on this topic. We work together with the industry to help promote legislation that will clarify, would give the clarity needed for companies like ourselves, but also the wider investing community and the tech space. And we are very as much as we can, we're active in supporting the cause. Again, this goes back to our mission. In order to increase adoption of crypto, you need to have the regulatory clarity.
I know Kraken has made some progress last year on its international expansion, particularly in Europe, and adding to its UK capabilities. Your focus is the US business, so I will come back to the international stuff in a second, but what are some of your priorities here in terms of growing the business that go a little bit beyond trading, given that the regulatory environment here is so much more hostile than in other jurisdictions? So, beyond the trading, which seems to be the focus of the SEC, how else are you able to grow the business? What are your plans for this year?
So we're looking at a few vectors. One, as of last year, we launched our first consumer campaign in the US and globally. So we're getting ourselves more known. Kraken up to now was focused head down on work last 12 years. It's a very it's a company that's been here almost since the beginning of crypto trading, always focusing on building the best customer experience, building the most robust platforms, and never on marketing. So that has started last year. And we're also working on building a few more products. We always develop products in-house, and hopefully we'll be launching some products later this year. We'll be sharing that with you as well.
Anything that you have learned from your efforts in the UK and Europe that apply here in the US?
There's, as you said, we do a lot of expansion, not only in the US, we apply for and we receive licenses. So we operate in many licensed jurisdictions, the US, Europe, Canada, Australia, and others. We received some licenses across Europe, a license in Spain, a license in Ireland, and we're in the process of obtaining more licenses, wherever regulation allows that, basically, because we believe in, again, find regulatory clarity in any jurisdiction, apply for a license, and operate.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.